What is up, everybody? Squiddish here, and today we're going to take a look at the playable demo of Batman Arkham Origins, available at PAX Prime. Now, it starts off with a quick intro cinematic bringing us up to kind of the story. Any of you that haven't been following Arkham Origins, basically the Black Mask puts out a hit on Batman and calls in the world's deadliest assassins to try and take him out. And they're not working together, that's for sure. But you got the likes of Deathstroke, Deadshot, Bane, the Joker, all sorts of Firefly, I think his name is, all sorts of fancy dudes trying to work together to kill the Batman. Now, if any of you have seen the fairly recent Batman gameplay demo, or a gameplay trailer rather, they dropped us into the same section of the game as that trailer. Starts off on the roof of a building, going towards reconstructing the helicopter crash. Now, we had a time when we had about 10 minutes to play, so I couldn't get through the whole thing. I got as far as I could. And before we get into the actual gameplay here, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know that the demo was on PlayStation, and I have also not played Batman in quite a long time. Most of the games and stations had little cards with all the game's controls on them. I can understand why Batman didn't. There's a lot of buttons in Batman. So I spend a lot of the combat trying to remember how to do, like, ground takedowns and the combo finishes and all that kind of stuff. I didn't remember. But, with that said, let's move into the actual gameplay here. Starts out on this rooftop, and right off the bat, you are in open world Gotham. It is large, it's as big as ever, and there's tons of room to explore. The controls are going to be immediately familiar to anyone who's played Arkham City, because it's exactly the same. Everything works the same, and at least in the demo, which I don't know if this is the beginning of the game or not, I did start out with a lot of the gadgets, like the grapple acceleration that lets you just, like I'm doing there, jet off of buildings and get a bunch of air to glide with. I started off with the dive bomb, ground pound, all sorts of things, a wide variety of gadgets for combat. You start with a lot of stuff. Like I said, though, this may not be the beginning of the game. I'm not positive. Now, the first concern here is right out the gate, as awesome as it is and as smooth as everything works, this. Now, this is a demo build. It's early. But in Arkham City, I never had any problems with the game having to stop and load like this. And it chugged along in the beginning while I was trying to fly through, having to stop for several seconds at a time pretty frequently to load up. Now, my radar's letting me this crime in progress, and just like Arkham City, I can pull up detective mode and see I've got 2 armed thugs and 1 really big guy that I haven't met the likes of before. So we're going to drop down on the first armed thug and make our way over to drop the second one, making sure everyone with guns is taken down. Now, this is a new type of enemy here. This is just like kind of like the Titans from Arkham City, but functions a little bit differently. The concept is similar. You lay down an ultra stun and then have to beat down to just wear away at his health. After enough beat down, you knock off his armor, and then you can continue onward into actually doing damage to the dude. Now, the second problem, as you can probably see, this is almost indistinguishable from Arkham City. The game almost felt like a DLC. Like, it is straight up the same thing. Like, it almost feels like a gigantic Arkham City DLC that, admittedly, adds a lot of things, but it feels just like a DLC nonetheless. Now, I'm sure in the finished game there's going to be a lot more stuff, there's going to be a lot more things being added in. Already just in this demo I found 2 new enemy types, there was a new gadget, so there's going to be plenty of new stuff, I'm sure. But they're going to have to work pretty hard to make this game have its own unique identity and feel like its own experience. Because it's running on exactly the same Arkham City engine, the graphics are virtually identical, the combat system's the same, navigation's the same, and really, they're going to have to try pretty hard, like I said, to just make it not feel like a DLC. But let's be honest here, is that a problem? Like, does anyone have a problem with a gigantic game-sized Arkham City DLC? Because I certainly don't. I would be more than happy to spend $60 on a game-sized Arkham City DLC. I am okay with that. Now, scattered throughout the open world, even in this early demo, and here I am trying to figure out how to ground take down on the PS3, and I accidentally throw a smoke bomb. Works out. even in this demo, in the small bit of open world we had to play, which is still a lot of open world, there's all sorts of open world objectives you can just go to at your own will. You can decide to do them or not. Like that fight with the Titan down there and the 2 armed men, the crime in progress, that was entirely optional. I didn't have to stop down there. I picked up the radio chatter from the police frequency, and I found this just flying by. I don't have to stop here. This isn't my objective. But Anarchy has set up a giant rack of bombs, and, you know, being Batman while I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to go ahead and go defuse them. So it definitely looks like there is going to be a lot to do in this game. A lot more open world objectives similar to what we're used to. Now, playing through the demo, I didn't find any sort of Riddler things like there were in the first 2 games, but I would be fairly surprised if there's not Riddler missions and side quests and stuff to be done in Arkham Origins. I'm sure it's there. But the point is, there's also much wider open world objectives. Now, defusing this bomb here presented me with a timer and a meter that you'll be familiar with if you played Arkham City that will judge whether I'm getting closer or further from my objective as I try to track down the second of the bombs Anarchy has laid in the city. So now I'm going to fly around and kind of look for this here. General opinion, I like it a lot. I mean, there's not a ton to say, just because from what I got to play, it really did feel a lot like Arkham City. But the trailers and stuff that have been out have showed there's going to be a lot of new stuff on the way. Here we go again with the loading. Maybe I'm just not remembering it, but I swear I never had loading issues on Arkham City. I don't feel like that was ever something I had to deal with. I don't know if this is just a bigger game, or, again, demo builds, early pre-release builds, so this isn't necessarily going to be a problem in the game, so don't expect, oh, this game can't even run a demo build at PAX. Shit happens. So I'm not going to judge it too harshly for the loading. The only concern, and the only negative I even have to say about this game, that's a lot of bombs up there, is, like I said, it kind of starts to feel like a DLC. But, again, that's cool. Up here, we're going to have our second new enemy type as I go up to defuse this bomb, grappling up to the rooftop. We have these kind of orange-shooted, like, kung fu dudes. Now, these guys are interesting, because as you can see, they counter your attacks. So they can counter just like Batman can, which makes it very interesting, and I didn't realize you have to double counter their attacks. If you notice when he comes in for an attack, you kind of see, not all the time, but some of the times when these dudes are coming for an attack, you'll see like a double counter icon above their head, because you have to counter them like you're countering a double counter in Arkham City. They have 2 attacks that you need to double tap Y in order to lay down the counters. They're pretty obnoxious. They're very powerful enemies that are tough to deal with, just because they'll break up your flow a lot, and I didn't realize that was when I realized there was double countering to be done. So now, in addition to just watching for the counter icon, you need to pay attention to how many counter icons are popping up over the guy's head. So they're a great addition. I think they alone are going to make the combat in this game much more fun. Here it is, it said X to destroy. And, you know, being an Xbox kid, I hit square twice before I realized X is where X is A, X is not X, and I figured out what I needed to do to destroy that bomb. Now, with that done, let's head on to the third adventure of our demo here. We're going to fly through. There's some dudes on the roof. I don't think... Oh, I do stop and beat the crap out of these guys, actually, because I wanted to really get a feel for the combat system. I was trying to throw down some of the combo finishers. I wanted to see if there was anything new and exciting to be had here. So I beat up a couple random groups of thugs on the rooftop. And this is me trying to get the combo finishes to work off, and I couldn't get it to go. I don't know why. I don't know if the buttons are different on PS3 or PS4 or whatever PS I was playing on, or if it's just been a long time and I can't remember how to do them. But I could not remember how to ground takedown or combo finish. So we're just going to kick this guy in the face all regular style. But our third and final attraction for the day is over here at our main objective. And as we get up onto this rooftop here with the bat grapple, we're going to be confronted with a Gotham City chopper. Now, the Gotham PD are not friends with Batman at this point in his career. He's just a vigilante that's a pain in their ass. So they're after you just as much as they're after the gang members. But apparently someone's after them in return. Someone just shot down that chopper, and we need to figure out who. There's some flaming chunks nearby, but what I need to do is head down, check for survivors, and see what I can find. Now, detective mode, very similar to what it was before, but a lot more extensive. As I come down here and inspect the chopper, Batman says there's no survivors. I need to set up a crime scene. And as I go into detective mode, here we are. The crime scene scanner from the previous Arkham games. But now, I'm looking for evidence, which they don't make terribly difficult to find. They mark it with a red arrow. Because that's not the difficult part. You find your evidence, there's your evidence, you hold and scan it in, and then Batman will actually use the Bat computer to reconstruct the crime back a few steps. You'll go back a couple steps, and you need to figure out where in this progression of events you need to set up a second crime scene to go back further and figure out what happened. And you just step back and back and back through this crime until you eventually figure out where the shot actually came from. So the detective side of things is actually much, much deeper than it has been in any previous game. Unfortunately, that's going to be about it for the demo because this was about where my time was up and they pulled me off of the machine here. But Batman Arkham Origins, definitely something to keep on your radar. I know I'm excited. This is Squiddish, and good day.